Hey everybody, welcome to Weekend Confirmed Question of the Week. I'm Garnett Lee, glad you're joining us. If you want to get your question to us, you know where to do it. That's Twitter, @Weekend Confirmed. No final E on there. You can get it off my follow or whatever. Or Facebook, that's easy as well. Del Rio keeps up with both of them. Let's see today's. Now first off, we had a lot of questions about used game consoles, or about next-gen consoles not supporting used games. And Jeff Mattis did a question of the week about that. I also talked about it some in our new daily show, which if you're not already watching on YouTube, you should definitely check out. It's on the Shack News Games feed. I don't know why we didn't get Shack News. Right? Did someone else already have it or something? I don't remember. I don't know. Or it's old, or whatever. You know, YouTube's really hard actually to get usernames once they're gone, but that's a whole other subject. I can't get Garnett Lee. I'm the Garnett Lee. The Garnett Lee. I think it's kind of fun. Anyway, you should watch the Daily Show because I talked about it a little bit there. We'll probably talk about it a lot in upcoming episodes. So I'm going to do something a little different. Ground Flyer asked, do you think DLC is beginning to siphon content which would otherwise have been part of the core experience, and is that bad? So yeah, look, I mean, everyone, right off the bat, I'll answer the second part of that question. Is that bad? Of course it's bad if DLC is taking away content from the core experience. Now, the question is, do I think that that's happening? And I'm going to take both sides here for a minute just to kind of compare and contrast this this question, because I do see places where it sounds like and looks like it's happening, but it makes me feel, what's the right way to put this? It makes me feel really upset about the state of the industry, that we feel like we have to go to that length to make money out of games. And I think it's all part of what plays into, and the reason I brought up the used game thing, what plays into the continuing struggle by the old side of the business to make the old model work, which really never worked all that great anyway, but I'm talking about the high-priced, new-in-the-box game, because that model, it just doesn't support development anymore the way it used to. There's only a few games each year that are going to be such runaway successes that they make a ton of money. Now, of course, someone on the outside looking in says, I want to be that game. I want to be Batman and sell a whole ton of copies at $60, sell a bunch of DLC with it, and make a ton of money. But not everybody's going to do that. So, I think you look at a game like Final Fantasy 13-2, which clearly, from the way it ends, which if you don't know, you can look it up, but I don't want to spoil the game, but the way it ends is clearly a setup for lots of DLC. And that, to me, says that there was some content there that probably was thought of, as they got towards the end of the process of, well, do we include this in the game, or do we make it part of the DLC? And how you're breaking up that content, if it comes that late in the game development cycle, seems to me to be a little disingenuous, a little bit, uncommitted to the actual artistic experience. Now, on the other hand, if you're making an episodic game from the outset, then I think you're in a good spot, right? Because you're already saying to the person who's buying the game, hey, if you like what we're doing, then you're in for a long haul of whatever it is, $9 every 2 months or whatever. It's the same as buying a TV series on iTunes or something else, right? You know what you're getting into. You know what the price commitment is up front. You know how long you're going to have to carry out that expenditure to get to the end. There are other places that I think, though, that we get into this gray area of was the DLC intended to be in there? The Mass Effect 3 piece was one of those, and we talked about that a lot. We talked about how, does this character who relates back to the old part of the canon of Mass Effect really belong in the core story? And here's where I want to say, that really is up to the creators to decide what that core piece should be. But I think the most important thing is that when we, as the people who are enjoying this medium, play whatever games we play, that we get a great experience out of it. And I think part of the backlash towards the DLC, especially in Mass Effect 3, was just that, look, the ending was not that satisfying. And not because of the content. And I think there was some confusion there about, hey, this ending is really weird. Is it this, or is it this other alternative? And then, of course, there's that very long YouTube explanation video about one of those theories. But the bottom line was that the execution of that ending was not that great, and so we were looking for explanations as to why that might be. And part of that was, hey, maybe they held back, maybe they want to do some other DLC stuff. And I don't think that that's the answer there. So, do I think DLC is siphoning off content? There are obvious examples. There are Capcom games that have stuff already on the disc, such as a Street Fighter game. We already talked about that. We've looked at that. That's not a cool thing. We're not happy about that. There are gray area games like Mass Effect, and maybe Final Fantasy 13-2 to a degree. And then There are games like Borderlands, which I love the DLC they did. Like, they did great content after the fact, great stuff that kept me engaged. And something that's very important that's come up before on the show is that if a game's great, then the DLC's got to be great also. And while that would be easy to say, hey, this content's really good, shouldn't have been in the game, the fact of the matter is, no, it came after the game, or no, it was in addition to the game, but I'm still happy they did really good DLC. So that's Question of the Week. Hope you'll join us for the show every Friday on iTunes or your favorite RSS feeds. And until next week, this time, I'm Ghost.
I think with a video profile, great ending in that game, you need to be logged into that profile to play that.
I'm just about to finish book 12, so I am almost done because I need to start the Game of Thrones. But this is an epic
Well,
series.
do a couple
I
of
would
things.
love to
First off, it's sort of a
quite frankly,
sort of behind the
we
sky.
need to make it into multiple movies or even maybe like a mini series or
Internet
something like that.
connectivity
I think the
for
world
all
is
games
just so
ubiquitous
rich and deep
I
and